Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's Tuesday, 9 a.m. in Toronto time. Today is very, very exciting day because the first time we actually have people on the go. We're doing live show. This is quite cool. And today we're going to talk about API and also something that we didn't talk about it ever about filming in cybersecurity. And I have a pleasure today to have Alissa and Melissa Knight. Guys, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Melissa Knight. I am the managing partner at Knight Group, which is basically a group of companies that my wife Mel and I own. One of which is Knight Studios, Knight Events, which runs annual cybersecurity conferences. We started out with an API security conference, and now we're launching a new cloud security conference called Cloud Threat Con. And yeah, so Mel, you want to
Yeah,
introduce yourself?
hi, Mel Knight. Thanks, Evgeny, for having us on the show. Managing partner at Knight Group. And yeah, I do a plethora of different roles, which includes also running a five companies, events company with Alyssa. So here to say hi and talk about API security.
You're also a
Mm.
CISO.
I'm also a
She's also the
CISO.
CISO of one of our
Right.
MSSPs that we own called
Right.
It's you
Thriver.
have to be a CISO. If you
Yeah.
want to be successful in cybersecurity, you have to have a CISO role somewhere, acronym or somewhere. This, Melissa, you and me worked together for a number of years in Herjavec Group. It was a lot of fun. You're a very, very professional individual. Let's we didn't work with you a lot, but I'm looking forward to work with you in the future as well. I hope so. And let's talk about API security, but let's define API security first because this problem didn't exist 10 years ago.
Right. So API security. So let's first talk about, for those in the audience who don't know what an API is, let's first talk about what APIs are. So APIs are basically a Rosetta Stone between applications that translate. Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, our Starbucks just arrived.
It's a live show, so we're totally live. It's all fine. And by the way, for the folks on LinkedIn, I know there's around 10 or 15 people watching right now. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to interact with us as well. We want to hear from you.
Awesome. Hey, LinkedIn, good morning. So basically it's a Rosetta Stone that allows applications to talk, right? So if you want, let's say, you have this mobile app for controlling your car. That mobile app would communicate with an API, and that API would actually, the backend server, the API would actually communicate with the car. So it allows applications to talk. Now, what API security does is it ensures the security of those APIs, preventing it from being attacked. Now, OWASP in 2019 published a list called the OWASP API Security Top 10, and what that is the top 10 threats to APIs. And number one on that list is broken object level authorization, or BOLA. Now, with BOLA, this was the most common vulnerability that I used to exploit APIs. There's a systemic problem in my vulnerability research finds that, a lot of developers are failing to authorize API requests. They're authenticating them, but they're failing to authorize them. I mean, just because I'm logged in as Alyssa Knight and I request patient records that don't belong to me, developers are failing to authorize that. They're just simply looking at the authentication. Is Alyssa authenticated? Okay, then she could request what she wants from the database. And I've published numerous vulnerability research reports in hacking APIs, whether it's in healthcare, transportation, where I took remote control of law enforcement vehicles, and and mobile health apps, where I hacked the APIs and gained access to data that I shouldn't have had access to. Those videos are on my YouTube channel if anyone wants to see.
Yeah, we'll maybe reference the YouTube channel later on. I also put a link to the top API security for ops as well here.
Awesome.
Now, by definition, we assuming API is accessible on the internet. And it's quite a big change from, again, like 7, 10 years ago when everything was on-prem, everything was inside. We had firewalls to protect, and there was no public access to the API. The way we build applications right now, we need the public access. So there
Yeah.
is no firewall to put because we need this access. It means we need to have a different level of security to make sure only authorized people and authorized software can connect and
Yeah.
do whatever need to be done.
Yeah, and I don't want the audience to think that, oh well, APIs are only used in connected cars or health apps. They're used everywhere. It's the plumbing of our financial infrastructure. It's the plumbing of pretty much everything today. what everyone needs to understand is we used to live in this world of monolithic applications where when you went to a website, that entire website would be running on one single web server. And that web server, if it was interacting with the database, was sometimes even installed on that same web server. It was this idea of a monolithic application where everything was one, right? Now we've moved into this world of microservices where things are running in different containers. So let's say, for example, you went to the Amazon website. The Amazon website, everything from looking there into your shopping cart to browsing different departments was all on one web server. Now today, going to the Amazon website could be talking to thousands of APIs. If you click on all the home furnishings, that could be grabbing products from one API. If you look at computer parts, that could be pulling that list of products from another API. So the idea of this entire website is actually spread out across multiple microservices or multiple containers. Those containers all talk to each other through APIs. So APIs are actually in use for speaking to websites, right? So a single website could be broken up across hundreds of containers and all communicating via APIs. Now, you're correct, Evgeny. It's not a single web application firewall or WAF that you would use historically to secure APIs. With APIs, you have what are called API threat management solutions. And what those do is those are specifically designed to look for API-based attacks like BOLA or broken authentication or mass assignment, things that web application firewalls are not designed to look for. WAFs are designed to look for things like SQL injection, things that look harmful in the payload, like why is there a SQL query in this username? That's what a WAF is looking for. You're not supposed to use WAFs to secure APIs. You're supposed to use API threat management solutions, which are specifically designed to look for those types of unique attacks.
Are these solutions in line, or will they sit kind of on the side and watch the API?
That's a good question. Mel, feel free to jump in here. But yeah, I mean, it's they're passive. They could hang off of a span port or a tap, so they can listen passively, or and communicate with downstream API management solutions to handle blocking. They could sit in line where it's actually proxying the traffic to the API, or it can actually shim into the API and actually sidecar next to it. So there's different deployment options, depending on what the CISO or the security organization has an appetite for risk.
And I guess majority of the API connection will be over SSL. So it's mean the place that's going to be feeding us the traffic, you need to decrypt it first and then feed the API to the solution, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So you typically it would handle decryption. It depends on the solution. There's different API security solutions out there, like No Name Security, Traceable, 42 Crunch. Those are all specially designed or purpose built to protect APIs. Some solutions don't even require you to store the certificate key with them for decryption. So it depends on what the solution is and how they've implemented it.
Yeah, there's also Salt and Neosec, quite a booming code.
Neosec, yeah. I think there's a new one out of Israel, out of Tel Aviv, called Wib. Called Wib.
Yeah, there's quite a lot out of Israel. It's like mushroom season there, So
there's a lot of I don't know what's in the water in Tel Aviv, but there's a lot.
Oh, it's the hummus and the shawarma. It's the food there.
It's the food. Okay, got it. Yeah. There's a lot of innovation coming out of Tel Aviv now.
Now, go deeper on API security. I want to touch two things, and maybe we can do it one by one. One is if I'm a small business owner that developing my new application, maybe it's open bank application or something else, it's probably concern to me. And the other one is about the entire idea of CASB. We do API based on connecting to your Dropbox, to your email. We use API to do stuff. But let's touch base first on the SMB and the small or new business owner. What does they need to think about it when they develop a new application?
So, what I'm about to say, shift left, secure right. The problem is a lot of the vulnerabilities that we find in APIs are typically, inherent in the code, right? So there are API security solutions that are full shift left to secure right solutions. And a great example of that is 42 Crunch, where it will actually sit within the IDE for the developer and yell at them when they're writing insecure code. And then all the way to securing it once it's deployed into production, and actually inspect that traffic and do traffic interdiction before it's passed on to the API. So my recommendation is, look at something that will actually scan your code or look at your code for vulnerabilities. That way you're securing, shifting left in security, and making sure that that code is hardened before it even goes into production. And then, something that secures it once it's deployed into production. So, my recommendation for small to medium-sized businesses is invest in a tool like that. The other thing is, developers will often hard code API keys and tokens into their app. My recommendation is use code obfuscation to obfuscate that mobile app code. You're deploying your code with a mobile app onto these devices that are not within your control. And it's very easy for a hacker to reverse engineer that mobile app code to its original source code and find those hard-coded keys and tokens. A lot of developers are not obfuscating that code. Now, it's not foolproof, Evgeny. If you obfuscate that code, you can de-obfuscate it. It is not encryption. I want to make that clear. It's obfuscation. And so it is possible to reverse that to the original source code, but it just takes a lot of time and effort. But it's still making it harder for that adversary to reverse that code back to its original. So those are my biggest two recommendations: is try and catch those vulnerabilities while the code is being written, and then make sure you use code obfuscation. And of course, request that budget for an API threat management solution to secure those APIs once they're in production.
And the last thing I'll add is, maybe if they have within budget to hire a API pen tester to come and actually look to see how many APIs are actually interfacing with the internet, right? I mean, we spoke to several CISOs who didn't even know exactly how many APIs they had in their environment until we pen tested it.
Yeah, there's some organizations that have thousands of APIs now. It's gone from hundreds to thousands. We were just finished a penetration test where the company had over 6,000 APIs. So,
wow.
Was that a train?
It was somewhere on my side, another train, not sure. We'll do very, very, very quick commercial break and come back. So this episode is not sponsored by anything, but if you want to watch the rest of the week, the shows we have a show. We'll talk tomorrow about attack surface management. We'll talk on Thursday about assets.
Yeah,
we'll talk on Friday about SBOM, and all the links, you can find them here. You can also find the links to the podcast I'm running. Cyber Inspiration, myself, I'm talking about the motivation of the founders to start the company, and security architecture with Dimitri Reidman. It's going to be here on Friday as well, about architecture and how stuff connect. But let's go back and talk about APIs. What about Dust? What about dynamic scanning? Is this a good tool to understand your APIs?
Okay, so let's first just discuss the idiosyncratic nuances between SAST and DAST. So, dynamic analysis versus static analysis is what we're talking about here. So, when you're doing static analysis, everyone, that's when you're taking an app and you're doing what's called dead code analysis. That's what I was describing earlier. A great tool for that is called MobSF, or Mobile Security Framework. And what you can do is you can actually take an entire Android app or iOS app and actually throw it into MobSF, and MobSF will actually perform static code analysis. Okay. What I've just brought up, as you know, is DAST, right? Dynamic code analysis. Dynamic analysis is when you're actually executing the code. It's live code analysis. Now, Mobile Security Framework will actually do dynamic analysis. It does both. It'll do dead code and live code. Dynamic analysis is important. I definitely recommend that. I would say that that's phase 2 of any API penetration test I perform. So phase 1 would be taking the app, reverse engineering it, if it's a mobile app. If it's a web API, what I'll do is obviously jump straight to dynamic analysis, and I'll use something like Burp Suite. So, excuse me, I'm drinking sparkling water and it's making me really burpy.
Is this for mobile only or for web applications that are on the web? I mean, not the web, everything on the web. I mean, not mobile applications.
Yeah, so there's two types of APIs, right? So you've got web APIs and mobile APIs. So with mobile APIs, you have the ability to do static code analysis and live code analysis, right? You can do both because you've got the app, right? With web APIs, you have the ability to obviously just you have access to just the web interface, the web app, right? So you're going to use something like Burp Suite. So those are the two types of testing approaches for mobile APIs versus web APIs. I actually prefer mobile API tests because I feel like there's more tests that I can do with the static code analysis of the mobile app. However, I do have a lot of fun with web APIs. That's not to say that I don't enjoy doing pen tests of those. But with web APIs, what you're doing is you're accessing the web app and you're using typically a proxy. All right. So when you're using a proxy, so Burp Suite has this built into it. There's a proxy tab, and it'll actually load Chromium, and you can hit the web API with Chromium built into Burp Suite. And what it will do is it'll send all the packets from Chromium into Burp Suite, allowing you to analyze the API calls that are being made from that API from that web app. So then what you have the ability to do is right click on that packet in the proxy tab and send it to what's called repeater, manipulate the fields in repeater, and then send it onto the API and totally modified, right? So it allows you to find BOLA vulnerabilities, broken authentication vulnerabilities. It's how a lot of those healthcare APIs I hacked. That's how I did that, was through Burp Suite.
Okay, next time I'm in the hospital, I'm gonna make sure you're not in the same hospital with me. Okay? To be on the safe side.
There were millions of patient records that I accessed during that research. Healthcare, there's a lot of vulnerabilities in what are called FHIR API implementations, fast healthcare interoperability resources. FHIR APIs are basically this blueprint or standard for APIs for healthcare payers and providers. And I did this massive vulnerability research campaign called Playing with FHIR, and you can download that from the web for free. And it talks about the vulnerability research I did where I hacked millions of patient records through these vulnerable APIs.
Thank you. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about cybersecurity filming.
Yes.
You're filming right now in a way. And right now you also, I believe, on the conference as well. Maybe you can share where you are just to watch the conference and then talk about the filming part.
Yeah, sure. I've been monopolizing this phone call, so this live stream. So I'll let Mel talk. But we're at KubeCon right now in Detroit. We're on our way to London. So we're here for a week at KubeCon. I'm working the booth as the chief evangelist for a company called DeepFence. They're basically a cloud native security company that allows you to have observability and vulnerability management into your containers. So check them out, deepfence.io. And then we're leaving Friday to London. And in London, we're just going there for meetings with several of our clients. So we're super excited. We recently just finished filming of Dark Ops, at least part one of it. When we get back from
London, to the defense here as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Evgeny. And then when we get back from London, we're going to continue filming of Dark Ops, which is a new series by Tego Cyber.
Okay, so let's go back. What does it mean filming on the episode of cybersecurity? Because this is not typical things usually people hear about it.
Yeah. So about a year ago, we as part of Night Group and Night Studio, we created Night Studios basically, and that was, we found a need in the market where CISOs and CIOs and CFOs even were tired of spending millions of dollars really not understanding what type of product they were purchasing. So Alissa and I came together and we decided to make cinematic movies with a story arc and characters and hiring actors and actresses and building a production team to actually show the efficacy of a product through cinematic light and magic. So basically we have several different vendors who prefer us to create a movie, so to speak, a TV series, short film, and explain what their product does. So it's kind of like marketing on steroids, and it's been truly widely successful. Our latest film was Tego Cyber, an threat intelligence company. We were very closely we're friends with the CEO, Shannon Wilkinson, who's fantastic. She's based out of Las Vegas, and the story arc on that is, I mean, you can jump in.
It's a behavioral analysis unit at the FBI, specifically BAU2, which is focused on white collar crime and cybercrime
using the threat intelligence platform.
Yeah. So so just as Mel mentioned, we create an entire screenplay. We put out a casting call for actors, and we film, a season, 2 seasons, whatever it may be that the co-producer wants to film. So Tego signed up for a full season, so that's 5 episodes for us. So we filmed 5 episodes in the TV series. Now, the neat thing is, Mel and I don't know if you saw Evgeny, but recently we announced Night TV Plus, which is our new cybersecurity TV network that's launching in January. So we're excited about that. We're going to be airing our own original series, just like Netflix. So think of it like Netflix for cybersecurity. So you're going to be able to watch Night Studios' original content, and we're also curating cybersecurity genre films and documentaries and other also influencers who will be having a show on the TV network as well.
Yeah, it's going to be the first network specifically dedicated to cybersecurity content. So we're very excited about it, and
we need to come up with a cybersecurity popcorn. I think so.
I know, especially now that we have the coffee company. So we recently announced Night Coffee Co. So we're selling and we're roasting coffee beans now, and those will be shipping in. We're planning for Christmas by Christmas time.
I'll give you my address later on, okay, for the shipping for the coffee.
You got it. You got it.
Great. This is very, very exciting. I think it is the first time. I know there's a couple of radio shows people doing in cybersecurity. I'm not familiar with any of the TV shows people doing.
Yeah.
And that for the last 2 years, with most of us working from home and not seeing each other in the conferences, the video part became kind of almost mandatory for us to produce content, to show what we're doing, to connect in one way to another. There is a lot of podcasts starting. I'm one of them or 2 of them as well. So definitely interesting. Anything else interesting you guys building in the filming or security industry that you guys want to share?
We have 2 events coming up next year. API Secure, it's launching, it'll be a second conference in person actually in March. And then in May, Dev ThreatCon, which would be in May.
So Cloud ThreatCon is a new cybersecurity conference we're launching. That will be virtual. API Secure will be in person. We are going to be announcing the venue here shortly, where it will be at. Last April, when we held the first API Secure conference, we had 1,800 attendees across 84 speakers. So it was quite large. We're hoping for the same turnout in person. So if you're interested in API security, that's definitely the place to be, is the API Secure conference.
You should come and talk, Evgeny, at the conference.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to come.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Talk about this.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Enjoy the conference over there and all your flights and travel, and we'll talk to you later on.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, guests, Evgeny.